Hello everybody. Basically what we're going to do is take a look at many CAD options that are available within Linux right now. And what you're seeing in front of you right now is, yes, Autodesk Fusion 360. Now, Autodesk Fusion 360, you guys can find all sorts of information everywhere about it. And it is one excellent piece of software. And right now what I have it running through is Lutris. So there it is. You can see that it's running in Lutris. But there are some caveats to using it in Lutris. You get the full thing that you want, but see how this splash screen popped up? The reason why it does that is because I have it set on DirectX 11. Oh, it disappeared, see, and then we try to get it back in this point, and then you see it flashes. But without DirectX 11, and sorry, let me this because I keep on forgetting to do this part. It doesn't remind me. That okay. But under DirectX 9, you don't get all the little flashy stuff like this. You don't get your highlights, and here we go again. And you don't get complete circles like this. And I was just going to show you basically the difference of what's going on here. So I'm going to go back into preferences and see that Autodesk Fusion 360 is showing up again. For some reason, we have an issue where we wish that the DirectX 11 was going to be translated very well. However, it is not. And so we had to change it to DirectX 9, and then you get all the stuff that you kind of want, but there's also some other little things that will probably bother you. You don't get the little flashy glowing highlights, you don't get complete circles. Sometimes you, what else is there? Sometimes you have problems with menus and things like that. But you get the full-featured Autodesk Fusion 360 package, the non-commercial package, if you're like me and you just use it kind of to design little things here and there to 3D print or just some ideas to sketch out and stuff like that. There really isn't any better CAD system that I can think of on the market right now. And this is actually behaving a little bit better on Linux Mint than Manjaro. That's why I'm showing you that on this. Like, menus are actually rendering as they should now, which I don't know if that's an improvement from, I don't know, like the last iteration of this stuff, or somebody, the Lutris group or Wine or somebody, Code Weavers was just hammering it out and figure out a way to get certain things to work properly. But before, what you had to do is go like this and then go like this, and then it works just fine. But you'll notice that there's a little bug here too. Like if I let's bring up something full. You'll see that some menus stay on top if you're not activating them. Sometimes you can do that and they'll go away. As long as you activate them, then they somehow become a part of the interface. Going back here, what I was going to show you was that, say if you do something like a circle, you have incomplete circles. Sometimes the right-click menu to do OK and all these other things doesn't come up right away. There's a lag. Now you can see a complete circle this way. I can go ahead and dimension that however I want, and it's going to work just fine. Heck, let's just throw something else in there just really quick and dimension that as well. So we'll go 75 on that one. And what else do I want to show you that kind of freaks me out once in a while? Throw something down like this. It doesn't matter. It's going to get the point across. So you see, and then here's the lag after I do right click. It doesn't know where to go. You see that it is incomplete. So like this shape is incomplete here and here. These lines actually exist, but they don't show up as being complete anywhere. And even if we constrain them, sometimes what happens, and we'll just, I don't care to make those a round number, but I will. Even if we constrain certain things like this, I guess, And then maybe under there, and okay, and then we're going that way, here to here, and this way. Horrible to say, but whatever. Like that, they still disappear when you go on top of them. So that could be an issue that you may not like. Um, and then other things like visual eye candy and stuff. It runs just as fast if you really think about it. It does run just as fast, but you don't get the glowing stuff, so your selections might be a little bit a little bit dark and stuff. But you can do everything that you want to do or that you have done before in Fusion 360 in Linux. You're just going to have to sit up here and deal with a lot of these little issues. So my whole library is around here of things that I've been working on, and a lot of this stuff I was doing back in the Windows days, but they can most definitely be done in Linux. The other thing that I have to talk about that may be a issue for some people is that I've noticed that if I try to translate a design such as this into STL so that I can put it into a slicer to 3D print, basically the translation isn't done locally within Fusion 360. It is actually done in the cloud. And sometimes my response back in the translation of the STL is very, very slow. I don't know why that is. But if you like the idea of using Fusion 360, if you've used Fusion 360 before in Windows, you can use it in Linux. All you have to do is go over here, search for Fusion, and there you go. You got Autodesk Fusion 360, and then you just hit the install. That's after you have Lutris and Wine and stuff like that installed, and it'll go through its little thing. One thing I have to tell you, see, here's this annoying menu from Fusion 360. One thing that I have to tell you is that partway through the installation process, it now opens up Fusion so that you can log into it. And then you have to close Fusion. And then not only that, then you have to close, it'll hang up. And so it'll sit up here and ask if you want to close the wine process. And yes, you want to close the wine process for that. But you also want to find a very small Lutris container and close that. It is very small memory footprint. Close that and you're golden. Okay, and then you have Fusion 360 installed. Oddly enough, on Manjaro, when I was using this, it did not allow me to update Fusion 360. The other day, when I opened up Fusion 360, it says that updates were applied and check out what's new in Fusion 360, so I'm not really sure how it did that. I'm not sure what's so different in Mint than was Manjaro. But, hey, you know what? It works, so I'm going to be using it. And you can tell that all your visual styles and however you want to sit up here and look at things all work just the way you expect them to work. You know, maybe a little thin on there. And your selections, maybe through curves, your pre-selection highlighting doesn't show the entire thing that you're selecting, but it will select the whole entire thing. And then the problem with DirectX 9 is it does not allow the nice little glowy highlights that you may be used to. So you may not get the visual feedback that you like, but you can still, you can still use it effectively, and it runs nice and fast like it should. I would say that it probably runs almost natively. I haven't done anything really complex in it, and I think with the complexity you might see a little bit of a slowdown. So Autodesk Fusion 360 is definitely a choice that you can use within Linux. Autodesk doesn't have a problem with it, but just remember it is not supported on Linux, so they will not support you if you have problems. Okay, so maybe Windows and a virtual machine, or dual boot if you want to use this, but you know what, you can still use it within Linux. So we'll get out of here, and then I'm going to show you a different, and I'll just stop it from both areas. Sometimes this hangs up in Lutris. The other thing that I wanted to show you is many people are familiar with FreeCAD. FreeCAD is actually pretty powerful CAD software that you can use within Linux. Like Fusion 360 was built for Windows and Mac. It does not. It is not built for Linux. FreeCAD is across all three platforms. It is more of a traditional approach to modeling and making these types of shapes, and that means that it's not going to be quite as flexible as Fusion 360, and your construction techniques have to be done in a particular order. In Fusion 360, you can use a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach, and then you have direct modeling and all this other stuff and mesh and stuff like that. There's a bunch of little things that you can do in here, and it will be pretty much one-to-one with any other CAD system if you want to test any of your stuff, or if you want to do any type of stress testing on this. FreeCAD can do all that stuff. It may take you just a little bit longer to do things in this, in a sense, but you know what? It is very, very, very capable. And honestly, I've designed quite a few things in here that I've actually 3D printed, and the STL translation is almost instantaneous, and I think I know the reason why. And I'll show you this really quick, but first let's just take a look at the sketches. We have a sketch here. You know, you build your sketches up, and sit up here and edit that one really quick so that we can see what's going on, and then you constrain it just like any other thing, and it's completely parametric, of course, and so like any of these can be changed, and anything else updates as it should. Let's go back here so I can let's hide that, and then you know, you do all your extrusions and fillets and stuff a little bit later, or you could do them here. The problems that you're going to have with FreeCAD is that there are no snaps. There are no endpoint, midpoint snaps or anything like that. There are no, I think there might be, no, there's not even a grid snap, is there? But if you're going to draw a line onto something, say for example, you're going to add to the sketch, it will show you that you are actually on something. See how that constraint shows up? But there is, and on the endpoint, but it doesn't actually snap to something. So you can't just go, you know, willy-nilly go, oh, okay, well, I got this thing over here, and then now I'm going to go from here, and then I'm just going to go, you know, tear butt up to the next one. Sometimes that little dot there where it says that they're coincident shows up, and you may click it and you may move off of it just slightly, and then those endpoints won't connect, and then you'll have a hard time saying, well, where's this open mesh at? Where Fusion 360 and another one that I'm going to show you obviously does have snapping. For some reason, I guess the developers of FreeCAD felt that there was no reason to put snapping tools into their sketching area. I'm not sure why, because it's the most valuable thing that you can use. And this object is kind of weird. Obviously, I just did weird things with it, but sometimes it comes down to me not being able to actually define snapping points. Like I should be able to snap to a quadrant of a circle. I should be able to snap to the midpoint of this line. I should be able to snap to the endpoint here. I should be able to do all sorts of things, or I should be able to instantly snap to the center point of this, or you get my point. So it is a little bit longer. Sometimes it gets a little bit frustrating, but with practice, you could be just as fast with this as with any other CAD program, but I don't think you're going to be anywhere near as fast as you can be with Fusion 360 and nearly any other type of product out there, proprietary or free. It does have a, let's get out of here, it does have this draft area, which is kind of like a 2D drafting program, but it's more like a 3D parametric modeler rather than a 2D drafting. There are several other free alternatives that you can use, CAD alternatives that you can use for 2D drawing. And I would suggest using that instead of FreeCAD. But as far as anything else, they are developing it. It's under continuing development. And it has a lot of robust tools, especially if you're in the mechanical design area or, making certain practical designs for use in a 3D printer. Okay, on to the next one. I'm sorry these are very short, but I don't want to get into very, very deep particulars with this stuff. Probably not going to do any tutorials about any of this stuff. I'm just kind of introducing you to the alternatives. And finally, what we're going to go into is another one that I've used for a while because I needed to have an alternative to Fusion 360 because it wasn't within Lutris for a while, and what I basically came up with is Onshape. I found Onshape. Onshape was designed by some developers that actually made, what was it, SolidWorks. This is completely in the cloud and runs in a browser. So right now I'm running Brave. It's, Chromium based. It used to be a thing where the Chromium based browsers were working a little bit more efficiently with this type of stuff than Firefox, but Firefox works just as well. But if you're thinking about getting a really robust CAD system that you can use, part after, you can design part after part after part, there's like an entire prototype, a Le Mans prototype that somebody had modeled within this software. So it is completely capable of doing it, and I just loaded it up and looked at it. I'm not going to load it up right now. It is a huge model with a lot of assemblies in it. You have a part studio, and then those parts get put into an assembly, and then those assemblies put into, either larger groups or however you want to do it. There's versioning tracking. You can share it with other work groups and stuff like that if you do the professional version. But one thing you must remember is that if you're going to use Onshape and you're going to use the free license, the free subscription only allows public data. So if you want to have private data, like you're inventing something or you're just starting out, you're probably going to need a professional license to keep all your data safe. Other than that, somebody can come around and say, well, look, it's in the public venue and I can download it anytime. That's how I got this. These little things means that it's global. There's a whole bunch of free things, say like here. And these are all public data. And whether or not somebody's going to pick these up and actually sit up here and build any of this stuff or take any of these designs and make it themselves or make it their own. I mean, they could because you just made it public. So I would seriously suggest that if you are going to design something and you don't want anybody else using it, try to go for the professional. Or if you're just starting out, basically what you're going to have to do is probably use Fusion 360 or FreeCAD, because then FreeCAD keeps everything locally. Fusion 360 will allow you to keep certain file types locally, but most of it lives in the cloud, but it's yours. And the other thing is that as long as you're not making over $100,000 a year using that software, you can use it for free, and you just have to re-up it every year so that you can use it for free. So if you don't have any income from it, that's fine. But if you come up with a kick-ass invention or something and you're starting to roll in the dough, then you'll probably want to buy a professional license. There's a lot of things that are available under the professional license of Fusion 360. But this is the thing that you have to understand with Onshape is that your stuff goes out to the public. So, and this is that other practice thing that I had made in the other ones, and sometimes it depends on the network. But as you can see, everything works really well within the browser, and I don't like the navigation, the turning around thing. I like turntable. So let's see here. I can rotate it around that part. I guess I don't know. It's just weird to me. But you may like it. People really like this type of navigation. But as you can see, it is very capable CAD software. It does everything that this other stuff does. You know, you're building up sketches like this, just like I did before. I can get out of there, and then my secondary sketch I just use. Did I constrain that one? It looks like I kind of did, didn't I? Did. I should be able to, yeah, press that for a second. Oh, those aren't constrained. Because I don't have my other object up, that's why. So it was referencing the other object here. So, you know, and I extruded that and did an intersect type of operation, and it worked a little bit more predictably than it did in FreeCAD, and so we ended up getting this type of shape. So you can go through all this stuff. Your parts end up down here. You can label your parts, and then when you go from your part studio, then you can sit up here and take several of the parts, and then you make assemblies in this area. Like I said, there's some versioning and history and stuff like that that you can keep track of. You can sit up here and change your workspace units and all this other stuff in here. What else is there? You can create a version and do your description, and so then it ends up in your versioning list that you can show everybody else. And you can also create like drawings and all that other stuff from all your designs, and so it's really good for people who want to use it, and it's a very good alternative. And unlike yeah, let's see here, let's do this document here really quick that I can delete. Unlike having problems, I'm gonna go like this, and what was it? That there's some shortcuts that you can use to get rid of certain planes. You're not gonna have problems. You can see that we're right there, and there we go. So hitting enter means that you have something you want to confirm at that. You can always, I don't want to do that. So double clicking always allows you to change that stuff. Seems like this is referencing that. It's kind of strange in that way. We're gonna do 5.5 just to be kind of crazy, I guess. And you can see that all our stuff is right there. If we have a line, we can go along here, but we can also constrain to things that are 90 degrees so that you get an idea of it's kind of like a quadrant. I wish it was like a 5-degree thing, but you can still do it where you reference that part and kind of come out here. And let's see here. Eh, I'll escape that line. We'll do this one from here. There. And it will actually snap. Did you see how it snapped onto something? So you'll see how it snaps. And I think you can, there's a midpoint snap, endpoint, and of course you're going to be going along the elements. See your snaps come up. You can select as you go. It'll keep on showing you how many selections are right next to the cursor there. So if you get over 5, it'll go 5 plus. I mean, that's just straighten that. 6, 9, maybe 6, like I said. But you get the idea. And then you can confirm your sketch around like this, maybe grab this and this, extrude it just a little bit, and then you can see how many different things you can do from there, just like everything else. Go like that. Select your faces if you want under here, and you don't ever have to do a control or a Shift to select all that stuff. So I'm just going to keep on going. Here we go with the 5+ thing that I was talking about. So we'll fit that. I don't want a chamfer. Oh, come on. Fill it. And we have that roundness, and then it gets... so you get the idea. And it works fairly fast. What did I want to show you? Oh yeah, and this one was, if you get to export this stuff, basically what you're going to do is you come down part and then you export stuff from here. And then you can choose, and you see that I've been doing STL. For some reason, this translation, it's all in the cloud, and I'm working in the cloud, but it comes back instantaneously. I don't know what the deal is with Fusion, but it has communication problems, and then it doesn't come back instantaneously, but this one comes back pretty quick. And so the other thing that I wanted to show you was FreeCAD. I think one of the reasons why it does it so quick is that, well, I guess it doesn't really matter which one I'm doing. Let's just do this. Okay. When you usually go into a hidden line view of anything, basically what happens is it just shows your curves, like your NURBS lines and stuff like that. In this, it's kind of weird in that the draw style, if you do a hidden line, you can already see that even though these are regions that I can pick on, it is already divided up into what it's going to be during the STL, and I think that's why it is so instantaneous, because once you sit up here and say export to STL, it's like boom, done. Well, I think it's because it's already done behind the scenes, where the other CAD systems are basically keeping the NURBS lines in place, and it's a NURBS model, and then it translates it to this. It seems that FreeCAD translates this on the fly. So it's kind of neat in that way. But you can do a lot of things with FreeCAD, and it does a very, very, very good job. So that's the one thing that I wanted to talk about on that. And so let's see, like the wireframe, this is what we usually see on a wireframe. What we would expect on the hidden line type of wireframe is the very same representation, but without the mesh. So anyway, that's what I thought was kind of interesting. Hopefully you found this interesting and that you can find solutions to your CAD needs in Linux, because they are out there. Those are the three that I can think of right off the top of my head that I use. I usually use FreeCAD and Fusion the most, but I do like Onshape a lot because it seems like its performance is getting better and better, and they always develop it. You never have to worry about downloading updates or anything like that, because all that stuff is done on their end. Who cares? They do whatever they need to do. Just remember, the free license, all your files are public. Autodesk Fusion 360, free license, you have to re-up every year on their website, and as long as you're not making over $100,000 by designing products on their product, golden, and all your stuff is yours, but you have limited tool sets. There are certain tool sets that aren't there if you don't have the professional version. FreeCAD, absolutely free. I suggest if you have a flat pack version to run it under that. The app image version is a little bit slow to load. But if you can install it directly, go ahead and do that. Everything stays locally. The development process keeps on going, but it's relatively slow, so you're going to have a stable software to work with. So, and everything stays locally, so it's all yours all the time anyway. So, anyway, hopefully this helps somebody find some solutions that they could possibly use on Linux for parametric 3D modeling. Thank you.